Summer colds are brutal.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yeah.
He probably had it on Wednesday, suppressed it till Friday this week.
Good cough, almost died. Good cough.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting for the Town of Tabor, August 19th, 2019. We first have a public hearing as well as a subdivision authority meeting to take care of, so I will first call the public hearing meeting to order, please. Related to proposed bylaw number 14-2019. Members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for the proposed bylaw number 14-2019 will have a 10-minute limit for speaking, and anyone who does wish to come forward and speak must state their full name for the record. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I'm going to ask Ms. Monks to come up. This is for a road closure bylaw.
Ms. Monks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. At the June 10th, 2019 regular meeting of council, Resolution 309-2019 was passed, directing administration to move forward with a land sale, which would require the closure of a portion of road in order to accommodate development of an existing business in our industrial park. This road closure is required in order to move that file forward. The road in question is not developed at this time, so there's actually no physical road in place to be closed. However, the application still needs to go through the full process, which includes circulation to external stakeholders and Alberta Transportation, as well as holding this public hearing for anyone to come forward with their concerns. The road closure has been advertised in the Tabor Times for 2 weeks, and external circulation has been complete. After public hearing, the paperwork will be forwarded to the Transportation Minister for approval if there are no other concerns.
All right, thank you. Ms. Monks, has the Plan and Economic Development Office received any written briefs against the proposed bylaw number 14-2019?
No, we haven't.
All right, thank you. Is anyone present who wishes to speak against bylaw number 14-2019? Anyone wishing to speak against this bylaw 14-2019 a second time? And anyone here wishing to speak against bylaw 14-2019 a third and final time? All right, thank you. Seeing none. Back to yourself, Ms. Monks. Has the Plan and Economic Development Office received any written briefs for the proposed bylaw number 14-2019? All right, thank you. Is anyone present who wishes to speak for bylaw number 14-2019? Anyone present who wishes to speak for bylaw 14-2019 a second time? And anyone present wishing to speak for bylaw 14-2019 a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Thames.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that council accepts the information provided at the public hearing for road closure bylaw 14-20119.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And I hereby declare the hearing closed. On to our subdivision authority meeting. I'll call that meeting in order, please. And related to back to 14-2019, Mr. Armfield.
I believe the first item on the subdivision authority's agenda is meeting minutes from July the 15th, 2019 for your approval.
Great, thank you. Any questions arising? Oh, I'm sorry, I did not adopt that. Yes, we do. Formally adopt the agenda for the subdivision authority meeting. And back to bylaw 14-2019. Someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Firth.
Should we adopt the minutes first, perhaps?
Agenda, we have the agenda, then the minutes, and then a
All right,
subdivision.
sorry about
But I'm to adopt the
All right,
agenda as
let's
presented.
go back. All right. Motion on the table. I'm missing this one. Oh, there we go. I got the wrong one. That's why. Okay, that'll work. Sorry about that. Back to adoption of the minutes for regular subdivision meeting authority. Councillor Firth. Adoption of the agenda. Councillor Firth. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And back to subdivision application, item 4.1.
To adopt the minutes now.
Jeez, okay. Sorry about that. That's right. Item 3.1, minutes of regular meeting of subdivision authority, July 15th, 2019. Someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Thames.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of subdivision authority held on July 15, 2019 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 4.1, subdivision TT-19-0-004 Eureka lots. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, I'd like to call Ms. Monks back up to do the presentation on this subdivision. The area for the subdivision is in the Eureka area. This right here would be Highway 36. That's the undeveloped 69th Avenue co-op. The bulk fuel station is right there. The subject area that we're talking about is right there at that corner of the intersection. Go ahead, Ms. Monks.
Your Worship and members of Council, at a special meeting of Council on July 3rd, 2019, Council considered an offer to purchase some lands in the Eureka Industrial Park and passed Resolution 333-2019, directing administration to undergo the process of subdividing lands in order to accommodate the land purchase and right of first refusal on an adjacent parcel. A tentative plan was surveyed and circulated to adjacent parties and external stakeholders and advertised to the public. The subdivision went before the Municipal Planning Commission on August 12, 2019 and was approved, and approval was recommended, This final approval is required in order to create a 2.38 acre site for sale and a 1.16 acre lot with right of first refusal by the interested party. This will allow planning and economic development to proceed with the sale and future development of the lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Garner.
I can make that motion, Your Worship, that subdivision authority approves subdivision application TT 19-0-004 of Block X, Plan 7819AQ within the southeast quarter of Section 8, Township Road 10, Range 16, west of the 4th Meridian, with the following conditions 1 through 5 inclusive.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Just require a motion to close the meeting, please. Councillor Bruin.
So moved to close the motion, or meeting.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. And back to the regular scheduled Town of Tabor meeting. Call that meeting to order, please, and ask for an adoption of the agenda as presented. Councillor Strauss.
Move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3, adoption of the minutes. Item 3.1, minutes of public hearing, meeting of council July 15th, 2019. Mr. Armfield.
That's correct. You have in front of you the meeting minutes from July the 15th, 2019. Any amendments or alterations, please let us know. If not, they're yours to adopt.
Thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I can make a motion that council adopts the minutes of the public hearing meeting of council held on July 15th, 2019 as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.2, minutes of regular meeting of council July 15th, 2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, following that public hearing, you had a regular council meeting, so those meeting minutes are there for your consideration as well.
Thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on July the 15th, 2019 as presented.
Okay, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4, business arising, no business arising. Item 4.1, Tabor off-leash dog park. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I'm going to call. Is Dawn, Miss Phillips? Are you coming up solo? Okay, looks like Miss Phillips this is coming back to council based on a presentation made to council at the last regular scheduled council meeting for a plan for the dog park. Miss Phillips.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So at the July 15th council meeting, Ms. Ulrich attended as a delegation and requested to replace 600 feet of fencing around the south side of the dog park, including a fence that will separate the north side of the dog park from the south side. At the meeting, there was also a suggestion from council that public engagement would be beneficial before making this decision. Councillor Tams made a motion that council table the agenda item until the regular meeting this evening. Administration created a survey which was circulated on social media. It ran from July 22nd for 2 weeks, and we had about 120 people respond. The 2 projects proposed by Ms. Ulrich of replacing the fence on the south side of the dog park as well as the dividing fence were rated higher on the priority list from the public. So administration is recommending that council direct administration to enter into an agreement with the Kinsman Club of Tabor to replace the 600 feet of fence around the south section of the dog park as well as install a fence to divide the south side from the north side. Ms. Ulrich is in attendance if council has any questions regarding the project.
Thank you. Any questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Tams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll move that council directs administration to enter into an agreement with the Kinsman Club of Tabor to replace 600 feet of fence around the south section of the Tabor Dog Park using funds solely from the fundraising efforts pursued by Daniel Ulrich.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Councillor Firth.
Just had a question for Ms. Phillips. Was that the highest rated improvement from the survey?
No, there were some other. It's hard to evaluate clearly because it was rated 1 through 10 or 10 or 11 items, but it was overall the ratings were. The survey results are attached to your agenda item. There's a graph that shows the fencing and as well as the divider fence rated around a 7. A shelter was around an 8. Lighting was just under that. More trees was around a 9. And then some other ones like fresh water, which we just don't have access to at this point. We put on there knowing it was going to be very high. It was a 10. So we knew that one, but that we have future plans, ideas of plans for that. So it was one of the higher items, and based on Danelle's input and her fundraising efforts, felt that we should support what she had presented to replace the fence. Yes.
I think just to clarify, if I read that correctly, I think I saw 38% was the highest for the water. So that's still a big concern, right? So hopefully we can look after that for next year, as was the suggested plan going forward. But yeah, the fence is definitely very high on the list, so that's a good choice by Ms. Ulrich, and thanks to Ms. Ulrich for all your efforts.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good. Thank you. All right. Item 4.2, Tabor Memorial Gardens Monument Reports. Mr. Armfield.
This has come up a number of times at council's coffee with council sessions with regards to the level of service at Tabor Memorial Gardens. That turned into a request from administration to write a report on what we do, how we do it, and why. Interesting, through our investigations, there was some education for sure to myself that through the bylaw that there's not actually a commitment from administration or from the town to address the monuments, yet we go out and do that, but that's not actually in the bylaw. But what we did do is we tried to put together a report that would satisfy those questions of council with regards to straightening of monuments. If there's any questions, either myself or another member of administration would be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions arising? I think just in all fairness, this came up, as I believe most are aware, at a coffee with council discussion with a couple of individuals about that very topic. And I guess that's where some of the gray area came into play, myself discussing with Mr. Armfeldt, and just not sure about that level of service and how to take care of those kinds of issues, and where I know for a fact I've seen the town in there working on the headstones and or maintenance different times of the year. So I believe the town is actively doing that anyway. But I think that's what Mr. Armfeldt is talking about, suggest about where we go with this and what kind of direction we're looking for that level of service that was asked. It was very vague, I guess, at best, when we're talking about when the town does or doesn't step in for that purpose. So I welcome any other comments or suggestions in that regard and start the discussion going that way. Councilor Bruin?
Mr. Mayor, just thank you. I think what we're doing now, and the town is doing what they can to straighten what tombstones they see, I imagine, within reason. And I think we can just let this carry on as it is and do our best to keep the gardens looking as nice as we can. So I'd be prepared to make the motion that council accepts Tiro Memorial Gardens monument report for information purposes.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4.3, golf cart usage investigation. Mr. Armfeldt.
The next few on your agenda are public works related. Mr. Shear and Ms. DeBona are going to come up and handle the next few. The first is some research that they had completed with regards to golf carts and the request to look into that by council to administration. Mr. Shear and Ms. DeBona, go ahead.
Afternoon, Council. Mayor. On the July 15th meeting, you asked administration to investigate allowing golf carts on Town of Taber roadways. So we investigated into that, and the information we found a similar request from a smaller town in Alberta, Devon, I believe, was who requested it, to AUMA to take it to the Minister of Transportation on their behalf. That was for towns under 5,000 population, and the Minister of Transportation declined it and said golf carts are not safe to be on the roadway. Also, we spoke with the insurance company, Intact, and they will not insure golf carts to be on public roadways, only on private. They have stipulations that are included in your report. Alberta Registry will not register golf carts to be on public roadways. And Transport Canada, they do not have any safety standards that golf carts have to adhere to as far as the manufacturers of them. So that's what we found.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Councilor Strauss.
Your Worship, I appreciate the work that you've done on this here. Thinking outside of the box here a little bit, there are communities across Canada that have done and are doing pilot projects to allow golf carts on town streets. Designated areas of a community, proper signage, and then certain conditions. Can't have younger kids in them, different things. They have to be equipped. They can't go faster than 20 kilometers an hour or something. So perhaps all this information here shouldn't go to waste yet. Perhaps we should take a look at a ways and means of doing a pilot project, partnering with the provincial government, Alberta Transportation, thinking outside the box and doing something like this here for a community to see whether or not this is feasible, whether this report was done in 2012, 7 years ago. Well, a lot has changed in the last 7 years, being that the world's gone in a different direction. We're all driving electric cars and everything else. So perhaps this could be a good time to relook at this here, connect with Alberta Transportation. Our minister here in town is a red tape reduction minister, so perhaps a little input from him as to how we could go about doing this, rather than just let this die at this point. I'd like to see that we couldn't maybe facilitate a pilot project and doing something like this, with certain conditions, of course.
I think they are allowed on pathways, certain areas where the town does designate, but sooner or later you are going to have to cross the road.
Well, yes,
That's the issue, is when you cross a road.
right, and I fully understand that. That's why I would like to take it to rules and regulations that other communities are doing. I know there's several of them out in BC that are doing, some down in Ontario that are doing and allowing this, and they've started as a pilot project. And after it had run for a year or two, the BC government had endorsed this, and they have to be registered through ICBC, which is the insurance company in BC. So perhaps Taber can become innovative and a leader in this field by taking a look at doing a pilot project.
We can look into that for council. And if you wanted to stretch this to, the provincial government, you'd write a letter to your MLA and ask for their commitment or what help they could provide us. Maybe council could write that letter to your MLA or to the provincial government.
Possibly we could add some more information and take a look at the rules and regulations, some of these pilot projects, have that background information before we do excite these different communities, but I would like to see that.
Right, Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I initially supported the investigation which was proposed by Council Stroas, which I thought it bore some merit. Having read the report, which was very good, thank you, I'm of the opinion that we should just leave this dog alone and take up information. I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
That council accepts this report as information only.
All right, motion on the table. Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to follow up on Council Stroh's idea to have a further look into this. We're looking for new innovative ideas for the town, and they may attract people to our community if they can ride their golf cart to the golf course and whatnot. So I'd like to follow through with what Councillor Stroh is saying.
Councillor Temps.
Because when it come up, I was the one that said that this has been at the AUMA, and I remember that convention and how well it had passed at that convention to, for appeal to the Alberta government to change the rules so we could use golf carts. And I still think it's a good plan. Problem is, we've had administration do this homework for us, and what we're finding out it isn't there. And I think maybe it becomes more incumbent on council than it does on administration to do any more homework, whether we should maybe take a look at making a resolution to the AMA and, through our MLA, instead of administration spending any more time on it. They've done their work. They've given us the answers. Maybe it becomes incumbent on council to make a resolution to the AMA to take a good hard run at this about electric vehicles and including golf carts. But I believe the council has, administration has done their work, and for that reason I would support Councillor Beckering's motion.
All right, Councillor Strauss.
Further closing on this here, I appreciate your thoughts on this here, but we didn't ask them to look into a private pilot project, nor did they research other communities that are doing this here. They looked at what had happened, history in Alberta here, and the world is changing, and to be innovative, you got to be proactive and do different things. So,
all right. Any other comments? All right. So, my understanding, we do have one motion on the table, Councillor Beckering. But are you suggesting there be something else beyond?
Well, Your Worship, I'm suggesting that perhaps we take a look at these other communities that have run a pilot project and see how they got through it and how they had their provincial government endorse it. This is...
That was somewhere out of province, so not Alberta?
Yes, it's out of province. It's in BC. There's 2 incidents in BC, and there's some in Ontario. I just looked at the ones close by here. There's nothing wrong with being a little bit innovative and taking a look at this here for a green initiative.
I guess I don't recall exactly what came up at AUMA. I know it came up, but I don't remember the gist.
The gist of it back in 2012 was to allow golf course, and it was mostly for communities under 5,000 people. Under 5,000 people, and it was spearheaded by Devon at the time and Town of Vauxhall, who actually spearheaded that request. And it went to the minister, and the minister deemed that golf carts are just not legal on streets. And it ended right there.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Councillor Garner.
My personal opinion on this, and I know there's places down in the States that may allow people to do that, maybe in Arizona or a seniors thing, but you got to remember their motto down there is land of the free, home of the brave. And I think that when you start scooting around on golf carts with kids or elderly people with no seat belts, you're going to fling them out into the middle of an intersection. I can't support this. I'm not comfortable with this because I think one of our responsibilities as council is to ensure the safety of our citizens. And I don't feel it's safe. I just don't feel it's safe.
Mr. Broom?
Respect what you're saying there, Councillor Garner, but we could look at different ways of limiting the golf carts to certain areas, not allowing people under 14 without an adult. I think it's worth giving it a try. I don't like to see this die. So I think we should look into this a little closer before we just throw it out. Lots of times people say no, but you got to fight a little hard to get them to say yes. So.
Mr. Thames?
I think we need to go back to what administration has fed us. Alberta government, small vehicles, guys lift golf carts as prohibited miniature vehicles. They've done their homework. So if we as council want to proceed with this further, it becomes incumbent upon council to be doing that and to make an overture to the AUMA or to our Alberta government to change the rule. But we can ask administration to look into it all we want. But they've already looked into it, and here's what they found. They've given us the answer that we asked for. And I think if we're going to do anything, it has to become incumbent that it's a council thing. Administration doesn't have to be doing this. That's my view.
All right, just a clarification. If we're to do something in the AUMA, we're beyond that, right? Wasn't it June or something that it's a deadline for that sort of thing?
Correct. We'd be looking at the 2020 AUMA convention at this point. Yep.
Okay. So is that something we want to look at down the road? That's what Councillor Stravos, I believe, and or Councillor Bruin's alluding to?
Your worship, then perhaps, but I'll gather some information on these pilot projects and bring it back to council as a council initiative. I think one thing that we got to remember here, we already have electric vehicles on the roads that handicapped people are driving down the roads. So this is not new technology. They're already out there on our streets. So this would be just an addition to that. And we're not going around and ticketing and telling handicapped people that they can't ride their scooters up and down the roads.
Something you're looking at possibly doing as a standing item somewhere?
What I'll do is I'll find some more information on the pilot projects and assemble that information and bring it back to council to take a look at. If you want it to be a council initiative, I can do that.
All right, fair enough. Once again, motion on the table. Councillor Beckert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reserve the right to close debate as the mover.
Pardon me?
I reserve the right to close debate as the mover.
Yeah, let's go back to the motion on the table.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Mayor, the reason I made the motion is because after some soul searching, I thought this affects relatively few people. And when you speak about electric vehicles, I dare say there's very few electric golf carts in Taber. And when you make a new bylaw regarding the use of golf carts in designated areas, perhaps, I'm not opposed to that so much, you heap a whole bunch of more work on our bylaw people and the police itself, and I think it could create a mess. So there's just not enough benefit for me, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Motion on the table. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Good, thank you. All right, item 4.4, RV electrical, or sorry, we just did that. No, we didn't. RV electrical investigation. Mr. Arnfield.
Yes, this is also going to be turned over to Ms. DeBona, I think, is going to do the majority of the presenting on this one. We did find out some specifics in our traffic bylaw that would have to be amended to accommodate this. So we'll let Ms. DeBona give her presentation and Q&A after. Please.
Thank you, Ms. DeBona.
Council asked administration to investigate a proper and safe way to allow RV vehicles and trailers in the front of driveways to have power to be connected safely. In our traffic bylaw, there's already a section that states that electrical cords may be conveyed across the sidewalk as long as it's supported above the sidewalk at a height of not less than 7 feet or 2.15 meters. It also says in a subsection there that these devices must be removed by April 30th of each year. So council could decide to remove that subsection, allowing the portable devices to be used year-round. council could also add an amendment into the section of the traffic bylaw allowing the use of cable protectors to safely cover the cord and warn pedestrians of the hazard. I included a picture of those cable covers. Those are the same type that we use covering any of our cables in our electrical permits. We have to have them anytime we lay down cord for an event or something like that. So you could put a section that people could use those to cover them up as well.
Okay, any questions arising? Councillor Bruin?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. What worries me with this is we're going to create devices hanging year-round over the sidewalks, and that we're really not trying to encourage people to park their trailers in front of their houses. If it's a short time while they're loading their trailer or unloading it, I'm fine with that, but I don't think we want to see trailers plugged in year-round in front of houses, so we'd have to work on something here to make it proper. It'd be nice. I have nothing wrong with plugging in for a couple hours or overnight even if you're loading, but I think there has to be a limit to how long a trailer can sit in front of a house, which I believe there is, but it's well abused.
Well, just to clarify, there is a bylaw right now that the trailer can't sit unattended. It has to be hooked to a vehicle if it's going to be on the street, period. We unfortunately do see a lot of that now, as Mr. Armfield talked about previous. So, you know what, like what Mr. Bono was suggesting about the sidewalk cord cover format, if we're going to do anything, that seems to me to be a reasonable format for some sort of time frame. But again, then you're back to unattended trailer or a vehicle ahead of the trailer as well. What do you do? Like, it's we have a bit of a double-edged sword here. As far as we do one thing, then we're creating another problem with our existing bylaw with the parking of trailers solo on the street. So I think there's more to be done than that if we're going to encourage this or consider this either way, one way or the other. But that's not the end of it for sure. Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, if I might add, some of our streets are pretty narrow, and it's fine if one trailer is parked on one side of the street, but you start getting them on both sides, you're weaving in and out of them. So, you know, I just stick with 24-hour max plugged in front of the house is something I would support. Year-round is going to be a little tough to swallow. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, the year-round was just referring to the overhead devices that they had built in. That's all that was referring to, was letting them be used year-round.
The overhead device over the winter is for you to plug your vehicle in.
Yeah.
That's all it was meant for, not an RV. So we could add that in an RV for 24 hours or something if you chose to.
Mm-hmm.
In front of the, sorry, Mr. Mayor, in front of that address who
Yes.
person owns it.
That's right.
So they go around the block and move it 10 feet and they can park there again for another 24 hours. So that's kind of an issue we face with that bylaw. But I realize there's a need for this, but I don't think we want cords hanging over top all year in front of some residents, because that, I think, will be what happens.
All right, any other discussion? Someone prepared to make a motion? Anyone? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really see an issue about if we're enforcing the fact that trailers shouldn't be parked in front of the residents for more than 24 hours, then I would say that we should amend the bylaw to allow them to be plugged in for those 24 hours. And I like both options that administration has brought forward. So my motion would be that council accepts the RV electrical investigation report for information purposes and requests administration to include the recommended changes to the traffic control bylaw and bring the draft bylaw to a future meeting of council for further review. And those changes would be to allow or to remove C, that states that supporting devices must be removed by April 30th of each year, and also add an amendment that the condition allowing the use of cable protectors to safely cover the cord across the sidewalk and warn the pedestrians of the hazard.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councilor Brown?
Mr. Mayor, I still think we're forgetting about our narrow streets and whatnot. I wouldn't encourage trailers parking in front of the house. I think my trailer is about 40 feet long. When I park in front of my house, I take the whole frontage. And it's a, I do it when I load and unload. Then I move it. But if I leave it out there for 3 or 4 days, it's a traffic hazard. And I don't think we want to encourage trailers in front of the house more than 24 hours at a time. At all.
You could add a road width restriction within the bylaw. So if your road has to be wider than 10 meters for any parking of RV vehicles on the road, it's like that. Like I know you have a small local road where you live. We could say it's not allowed in certain meterage of the roads within that bylaw.
But for a 24-hour period only, or
no parking at all within because of the narrowness of the roads.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I do believe, though, there is a need for people to empty trailers and load trailers. So
we could say loading or unloading of trailers,
something like that.
Yes.
And at that time, we allow them to be plugged in if needed.
Well, if you're offloading for an hour, you need to plug it in. Yeah, right.
Councilor Thames?
I believe we're way on a different topic here. This thing is about an RV cord, not about parking trailers. And I think the motion that Councilor First just forward deals with plug-ins and parking, because it's not necessarily just a trailer. I happen to be one of them fortunate people that own the pickup that every now and then has to get boosted or battery charged, so I have a charger hanging out across there. This addresses that kind of issue. We're not talking about how long we're parking trailers with this motion.
Yeah, that's correct, actually. So it's, I think some of what you're suggesting, Councilor Bruin, may require something further in by way of motion to cover those other concerns. Councilor Bruin?
I believe they're going to bring a draft bylaw back to the future council meeting. We can look at it again then and discuss maybe the parking issues in that as well that it'll probably incur.
All right. Once again, there's a motion on the table.
That was a friendly amendment, I guess.
Was it? I don't know.
Yes, please, sorry. I meant it as friendly amendment.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the friendly amendment? I missed that.
That because it's coming back, we can review it then. So I guess I would agree if it needs a friendly amendment or not, Mr. Mayor. If as long as we get to see it, the draft before it is made into law, I would support it.
All right. Mr. Armfeldt, that's got that covered in your opinion?
Yeah, we're not passing any new bylaw before
Right.
council does. We don't do that. So we will bring a draft bylaw to council with these changes incorporated, and then you guys can talk about whatever you like.
All right, fair enough. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. Item 4.5, Chief of Police opinion on horses in town. Mr. Armfeldt.
Yes, is this going to be handled by you two as well? Yeah,
Yes,
Mr.
we
Shear?
can do
Okay,
this, yes.
thanks. Go ahead.
So at the past council meeting, council directed ask for the chief of police to comment on horse riding within the town limits, and you can see his response from the chief of Bella's letter. He does not want to. He prefer nothing south of 64th Avenue. There are insurance questions, and so I'll leave this for council's direction.
All right, someone will start. Councilor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to be the south end of the horse heading north on this, but you are. After reading the chief's report, I see his concerns, and I think perhaps if we limit them to the 64th Avenue, and on the rare occasion, if the horses are needed in town, I suppose we can get the permission from our CAO. Basically, if we carry on as is, we haven't had problems with it, so I don't see any further problems, but perhaps clarify the 64th Avenue being allowed to ride there.
Councilor Stralas.
Yes, Your Worship, I think probably what we're going to have to do is a bylaw amendment allowing horses to travel north from 64th Avenue. Otherwise, those same riders are going to run into the same problem. The bylaw officer is going to attempt to circumvent the issue and talk to them about it. So I think maybe that's something that we should have administration do is take a look at that bylaw and come back to council with a draft bylaw allowing horses from 64th north to out of town. Now, so then you come to, so where are they going to go from 64th Avenue? Are they going to go to 80th Avenue? Are they going to go to Cooley's? I think we need to take a look at that and see in a form of a draft bylaw.
Councillor Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe the letter we received from the Chief of Police states that, Council Strovas, that he recommends that horses should be permitted to be ridden the 64th Avenue and north within the town limits, with the exception of the cemetery and other things, of course. So I think the motion as recommended by administration makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Councillor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Becker, and took the words right out of my mouth. So in that vein, I would be prepared to make a motion that Council directs administration to incorporate the official opinions of the Chief of Police regarding horse riding within town limits and the officially suggested exceptions into the traffic control bylaw, and to bring the draft bylaw to a future meeting of Council for further review.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 5, bylaws. 5.1, road closure bylaw 3-2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, we have a round of Miss Monks coming up for the next few. This is her first one. While she's getting settled, this has been a conversation that we've had for quite some time with the applicant in this area about redirecting the alley here. So please, Miss Monks, give us an explanation on this one.
Your Worship and members of council, so
Excuse
administration.
me, Mr. Mayor, I should excuse myself from this. This is my brother's, so I should excuse myself from this point. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you.
So administration has received an application from Martin Geomatics on behalf of Summit Motors to facilitate a closure of a lane and construction of a new portion of lane in order to redirect traffic near their business. The lane closure will close access through the site from the service road and the lane from Heritage Drive to the existing back lane by the residential lots will be constructed. The application has been circulated along with a supporting subdivision application to the adjacent landowners. A homeowner has brought forward a concern regarding truck traffic using the laneway and accessing through to Heritage Drive. So we've therefore requested the applicant to provide a drawing that will ensure the ability for turnaround of heavy trucks to be occurring on their site and not shortcutting through the laneway. So we may need to place restrictions on the file and the subdivision approval in order to prevent this from occurring. We've also had discussions with the applicant regarding fencing of their site to ensure that doesn't happen. So at this time, we would request first reading of this road closure bylaw, at which time administration will then schedule a public hearing. The Planning and Economic Development staff will continue working with Summit Motors to alleviate concerns of the residents and bring forward any solutions to the public hearing.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Chavez.
Worship, I'll make the motion that council gives first reading to road closure bylaw 3-2019 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.2, land use bylaw 13-2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, the next one is for a land use bylaw amendment in the Prairie Lakes area subdivision. Ms. Monks, I might just turn this one right back over to you as well to carry on with.
Right, so administration has received an application for a map amendment to the land use bylaw in order to change the zoning of a single lot in the Prairie Lakes subdivision. The applicant has applied for a subdivision lot line amendment separate from this land use amendment in order to adjust the lotting of 3 lots to change them from irregular pie lots into rectangular lots accessed from Prairie Lakes Drive. The corner lot in question is currently set for access from Prairie Sunset Avenue, but is separated from other lots on that street by a pathway. This amendment and future relotting will have little impact to those lots currently designated as R1. So those would just be to the northwest of that purple lot on the map. The The application has been sent out to adjacent properties and no comments or concerns have been identified. A public hearing will be set for September 9th regular meeting of council, and administration would again request first reading of this land use amendment.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
Make that motion, Your Worship. The council gives first reading to bylaw 13-2019 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.3, land use bylaw definition amendment, bylaw 17-2019. Mr. Arpel.
The next one comes from a request from a developer to construct specifically some single-family dwellings in an area which is predominantly multifamily, and we're working to accommodate that request. Ms. Monks, can you give us a bit more background here?
Right, so actually, prior to receiving the application, we've noticed a concern within the land use bylaw. It was adopted in 2016 and replaced bylaw 4/2006, which was our previous land use bylaw. Previously, there were both RC1 and RC2 sites or zonings used for condominium development in the town, and a few bare land condo sites were created under this use in the previous bylaw. Since that time, they've been rezoned as R4 or Residential Medium Density District, which was intended to be a similar use. An item of concern that was identified is that the current R4 district does not allow for the construction of single detached dwellings. So in order to ensure that existing sites within the town that are zoned under this land use be in compliance with the bylaw rather than legal non-conforming, and to allow for vacant lots that are in those districts to be developed in the manner that was intended for them, administration would look to amend the definition of multi-residential development to allow a single detached dwelling, as well as the note within the R4 land use itself to reflect that same amendment. This will alleviate any future concerns for homeowners and applicants in these areas and prevent any unnecessary delays if an application does come forward in those districts. So administration would request first reading of this bylaw and will schedule a future public hearing at the September 9th regular meeting of council to move this land use amendment.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives first reading to bylaw 17-2019 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.4, bylaw 16-2019, Arts and Heritage Committee bylaw. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I'm going to call up Ms. Hembro. Are you coming? Are you joining? No, it's okay. Ms. Phillips and Ms. Hembro looking to present the Arts and Heritage Committee bylaw, and then see if there's capacity or desire to name a couple of members of council to that committee. Go ahead, please.
At the council meeting on July 15th, 2019, direction was given to administration with regards to creation of a bylaw for the Arts and Heritage Committee. The proposed bylaw mirrors the Recreation Board bylaw as was recommended, with an emphasis on arts, culture, and heritage. Administration is recommending the adoption of the Arts and Heritage bylaw, and if adopted, administration is also recommending that council assign 2 members of council to the committee and give direction to administration for the recruitment of the remaining committee members.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Beckery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Phillips, I see you proposed 1 MD councillor from Divisions 1 to 4, which is south of the Oldman River. Have you approached the MD of Taber Council regarding any appetite to have a person sit on that committee?
No, we haven't.
Thank you.
Councillor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, I just had one question. In the bylaw, under 7.1, item C, it says advise council on all matters regarding current recreation issues. I'm wondering if that should say
Arts culture, and heritage,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
7.1C. Sorry, I thought we caught all of those.
I figured it was just an oversight. I just wanted to point that out before we read.
Thank you.
Go forward with the reading.
All right, any other questions? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
with that amendment, can we go forward with the reading with it amended? Just change it? Yes.
To Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Firth, if you make a motion as amended, so you're actually making a motion as an amended bylaw with regards to your reference to section 7C, and then that bylaw passes, then you can pass the subsequent readings as the bylaw, which was just passed as amended. So it can be done, certainly.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, I would move that council gives first reading to Arts and Heritage Committee Bylaw 16-2019 with the amendment to section 7.1C to change recreation to arts,
culture, and heritage.
Arts, culture, and heritage at this meeting.
All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, so we're prepared to make motion number 2. Councillor Thames.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that council give second reading to Arts and Heritage Committee Bylaw 16-2019 at this meeting.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And someone prepared to make the third requirement to go to the third reading. Councillor Garner.
I can make that motion, Your Worship. The council unanimously agrees to proceed to third and final reading of Arts and Heritage Bylaw 16-19 at this meeting.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. Someone prepared to make the third and final reading motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to Arts and Heritage Committee Bylaw 16-2019 at this meeting.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 6, action items. Item 6.1, request for tax penalty waiver. Mr. Armstrong.
I think there was one more item on that previous one, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Oh.
2 members.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay. So going back to that, there's a 5th motion recommendation. There's someone prepared to make that motion.
I would volunteer to sit on that.
So would like to let my name stand.
Okay.
Council
So, all right.
agree
So we're
with
trying to
that.
establish who. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we have 2 takers right now. Any other takers?
And on that.
3 takers. All right.
Election time.
Well, then Mr. Garner, if you're going, I'm stepping aside. And I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thames.
All right. All right.
Mr. Mayor, move that council assigns Councillor Firth and Councillor Garner as the council members to the Arts and Heritage Committee and directs administration to recruit the remaining committee members.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. Now on to item number 6, action item was 6.1, request for tax penalty waiver. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Orwa to make a presentation here.
Mr.
Thank you very much, members of council. So before you is just a request for tax penalty waiver. So we do have a property owner within the town that is requesting council to waive the July property tax penalty. And we do have some of those emails from the property owner attached to the agenda. Now, one of the reasons that is given out there, if you go through the email, is because the property owner was on vacation and did not collect his mails on time. So he came back and found when it was already passed.
Mr. Strauss?
Worship, this here is a gross misconduct of the 2 lawyers involved, to say the least. And I don't think this requires further comment, but I'll make the motion that council not waive the 2019 property tax penalty.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rowan. Item 6.2, recreation facility tours. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, administration has been working on some dates for recreation facility tours. We've got dates back. We've had responses from all council members. There is a conflict in between the dates of October the 17th and October the 23rd. There's a council member that cannot make it on the 17th and the council member that cannot make it on the 23rd. So we as administration didn't really want to make this decision. So just opening it up to council to give us some further direction on another date, or if one of the council members is okay not coming along, really just allowing council to make that decision for yourselves.
All right. Any comments, suggestions? Councillor Bruin.
All dates are good with me except the 23rd. I have a Highway 3 meeting that day I should attend.
I think that was
22nd, sorry, not the 23rd.
Okay, so that's got nothing to do with it then.
Yeah, so all dates are good with me except the 22nd.
Oh, okay, but the 22nd is not on the 20th, is other. Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right. Councillor Garner.
Your worship, I would suggest that council chooses the date of October the 8th to undertake the recreation facility tours.
Understanding that correctly, 2 of our councillors can't make that date, correct? Is that right? Okay, so.
But they couldn't make the 17th and 23rd.
17th, 23rd.
I'm saying let's go October the 8th. One day shot.
I missed something there. I understood the 17th and 23rd are conflict days.
Yeah, maybe Ms. Van Ham can add in. When we did this research initially, we kind of put the dates out to council, and then we can, as administration, figure out what date is going to be the best for all council members. And those dates were October the 17th and 23rd, with the exception of one council member on each of those dates.
Okay, so really,
so there was more conflicts. I would assume that there was more conflicts on October the 8th, the 9th, and the 22nd. That's why the 17th and the 23rd boiled to the top. And we're just looking for a selection from those two.
Yeah, I wasn't reading that right. I'm sorry, I retract that.
Okay, so it's currently there's 2 dates that 6 out of 7 can make it. And that's what the administration is looking for some direction. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would point out that October 17th, we have Coffee with Council scheduled that evening. So if it was going to be a one-day tour, it sounds like it might be a late return. And Coffee with Council is at 7.
Cancel it.
Or reschedule that.
Well, yes, you could do that, I guess. Okay. Any other suggestions? Councillor Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This a 1 day or a 2 day? What's the idea here?
The overall recommendation was 1 day, was it not, for the majority?
Correct.
Right.
Through to Councillor Beckering. The majority of people indicated their wish to have it as a one-day tour.
Okay, Councillor Beckering.
Mr. Mayor, do you need a motion?
Yeah, at some point.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we do the tour on the 17th of October.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Bruin.
I agree with the 17th, but are we sure we can fit this in 1 day? If we're going all the way up to Cochrane and actually be able to see these sites, is 1 day going to actually be adequate? It's a long day.
It's 4 stops. It's not
all the way to Cochrane and back.
3 hours to Cochrane.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys think it's going to be a long day, though, if you have questions at one site or you want to see more at one site than another, it's up. I'm good with the 17th, but as long as you guys are sure 1 day is adequate.
Bring your own sandwiches and beer.
Okay. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried now. It's good. Thank you. Item 6.3, AllNet Connect app. Mr. Armfield.
Yes. Okay. Ella. is up to discuss a proposal that we've got from the MD of Taber, actually, with regards to making a regional public address or public awareness system. Go ahead.
Mayor, Council. Administration has been approached by the MD of Taber regarding a partnership for a mass communication app. The app is able to be branded and launched however we see fit. The MD of Taber is proposing taking a regional approach to this app so residents in the entire region can benefit from the technology. The Connect program app can be used to alert crimes near you, fire bans, emergencies, road construction, service interruptions, news and events. The app provides the ability to easily broadcast information on a wide variety of platforms from one central portal. To manage and disseminate messages to all your residents via email, smartphone apps, text messages, social media, and voice phone lines. It also contains the ability to create direct feed into Canada's National Emergency Alerting System. Currently, the Barrhead and Area Regional Crime Coalition utilizes app in a regional context. There is a regional partnership between the County of Barrhead, the Town of Barrhead, Woodlands County, the RCMP, and Barrhead and District Rural Crime Watch Association to address crime. On their website, they outline a success story where a suspect in a string of robberies was apprehended following a public notification using the notification system. The public received real-time information through the app, further shared by text, social media, etc., and then proceeded to call in with a real-time sighting, leading to successful apprehension. This app will meet 3 of the council goals in our strategic plan: improve internal and external communications, define and practice good governance, to develop partnership with other regional governments and organizations, and third, enhance sense of community to continue the growth of Taber as a health and safe community. The MD of Taber is proposing regional sharing the cost divided by population for the total annual cost of $7,990. The cost breakdown would be for the town of Taber 47.4%, which is $3,787.26. It will take staff time to help implement the app and coordinate with other interested municipalities in regards to branding. Administrative staff will also be responsible for adding information content to the app and receiving training for the same. This will be done in conjunction with administration's current role of adding information content to our website, social media, and other communication channels. This app is an opportunity to take regional approach to notifications, particularly when that information deals with emergencies. As many municipalities have found with large-scale emergencies like wildfire, flooding, etc., a one-stop shop for communication that has regional backing is invaluable for information residents. With the built-in capabilities of this app to connect with the Federal Alert Ready system, there won't be excessive redundancy created where multiple channels have to be updated during the emergency. In addition, this app is another method that the town of Taber can use to connect with residents both in our community and outside of it. Our analytics shows that in the last 90 days, 68.2% of users accessed the town website on a mobile device, phones or tablets. Therefore, adding another mobile reactive way for users to access town and regional information will help disseminate town information in a way our users have demonstrated they prefer. The regionalism of this initiative also opens opportunities for further collaboration on information for tourism, economic development, and much more. The app is able to be downloaded by anyone from anywhere, which helps promote our community and our region to anyone who wants to access the information. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Strauss?
Your worship, yes, to Al there. Have you had personal conversations with Carson County and Clearwater County as well on what they think of this program?
Not yet. We just collected information from the website.
Okay. What about our local emergency service, police department and fire department? Have you had a conversation with them on this?
No. The next step would be getting together with the MD of Tabor, the RCMP, police and fire, and work on the branding and the next steps.
I'm wondering if we have enough information to proceed with a motion at this time. This is another app, another way to communicate, and there's already lots of them out there. So at this point, without further information, I can't support this program.
For it to be tabled.
We should table it for further information to get input from the fire department and the police department for their emergency services. I don't think we have enough information here, so I would put a motion to table this.
Councillor Rowe?
Mr. Mayor, I've actually spoke with the Mayor of Waterhead about this program, and they are really pleased.
There's a
with
motion on the table, on the floor
Well,
of the table.
there's a tabling motion.
There's a
Can't discuss
tabling
it.
motion, so we can't discuss it till we
So I
vote on the
can't
table.
discuss.
Not till we vote on the tabling motion, sorry.
I didn't actually catch that as a tabling motion. As you were
Yes,
talking
I
about.
made a
Did you make a
table it.
motion?
Yes.
You want to make a motion
Yes.
to table this?
Yes.
We made a motion to table.
Yes, for further information. Yes.
All right. Further discussion. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Brown, do you have some more to discuss on that?
Well, I can discuss it now. Is that all right with Mr. Beckery and Mr.
Yep,
Towns?
you can do.
No, you can't. We
Tabling
have to
motion.
vote on the tabling motion, Mr. Mayor, and then if we don't vote that passed, then we can discuss it. It's a motion just to table,
No, but any motion we have though is open for discussion, correct?
not a tabling motion.
Is it not, Mr. Armfield? Some clarification on that?
No, I believe that is true from the two councillors, that when you vote to table on it, that is the end of discussion on that subject matter until you figure if you're going to table it or not. So in order to open this back up for discussion, the motion to table would have to be rescinded.
All right, okay.
Sorry.
Withdrawn, not rescinded, withdrawn.
Right. Okay. Motion on the table. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you. All right, on to item 6.4, second quarter financial statements. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, Mr. Orwa, I know that these financial statements had gone to the audit committee and got a favorable review. Mr. Orwa, would you like to provide some details?
Thank you very much again, members of council. So we have before you is the unaudited financial statements for the second quarter. And this has been dissected by the audit committee. So unless maybe there are questions, I'm ready to answer them.
All right, any questions arising? Some are prepared to make a motion. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts the unaudited financial statements for the 6 months ending June 30th, 2019 for information purposes.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 6.5, Arena Rooftop Tender Award. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I believe Ms. Phillips is coming up to present the decision on the tender award, or the request for a decision on her tender award.
Ms. Phillips.
Council allocated funds for the replacement of arena rooftop units in the amount of $140,000 in the 2019 operating budget. An invitation to tender was posted on July 19th. Included in the tender was the replacement of 4 new rooftop heating, ventilation, and air conditioning units for the dressing rooms and lobby, including natural gas and electrical connections, and the extension of combustion venting for the existing dehumidification unit. 2 tenders were received, one from Four Seasons Incorporated in the amount of $112,420, and one from KB Heating and Air Conditions Limited in the amount of $123,963. The tenders were evaluated by MPE and reviewed by staff, and administration is recommending the award of the arena rooftop units to Four Seasons Incorporated.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
I can make that motion, Your Worship. The council awards the arena rooftop unit tender to Four Seasons Incorporated for the amount of $112,420 plus GST.
All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 6.6, Trout Pond Phase 2 RFP award. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, back to Ms. Phillips for the explanation of the next award, please.
2019 budget included a budget of $544,188.91 for the next phase of development at the Trout Pond. The Trout Pond Committee established the following priorities for this year's development, which included Loop 1 of the campground, including 9 RV stalls, an access road, electrical, 30 amp electrical to this Loop 1, as well as potential for that electrical to expand to future development. 180 trees, 180 shrubs, a bubbler irrigation system for the trees and shrubs, again with potential for expansion for future development. Irrigation pump house and a precast washroom with a septic tank and irrigation water initially to be used in the washroom. An RFP was posted on July 19th, 2019 and closed at 2 p.m. on August 8th, 2019. 2 proposals were submitted, one from InPhase Electric Incorporated in the amount of $474,545 and the other from Caliber Landscaping in the amount of $359,311. Both proposals were evaluated by staff, and InPhase Electric Incorporated was the highest ranking option, even though they were not the lowest bid. InPhase provided a detailed work schedule, included material specifications that indicate a clear understanding of the project, and administration is confident that we know we're getting with this proposed price. The proposal from Caliber Landscaping lacked detail, and administration determined that further negotiation to get the same detail as provided by the other proposal would likely result in a price increase. InPhase also clearly named each of their subcontractors, all known to the town of Taber. Administration is recommending award of the Trout Pond Phase 2 RFP to InPhase Electric Incorporated.
All right, any questions arising? Councillor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Why did we decide on 30 amp stalls instead of 50? That's the way to go nowadays. You don't see many 30 amp stalls being put up.
I think we the discussion was more that you often see more 30 amps and there's the occasional need for a 50. The pricing becoming prohibitive as we're adding another 34 stalls. So at the discussion level there, the decision was to go with 30. If anything, there was discussion around potentially 1 stall at 50 if you ended up having a year-round caretaker, but we did go with the 30 amp.
That was my only concern really, because are we thinking for the future by only going with the 30 amp cable now? Should we not be thinking of 50 amp in the future? That's the only thing that stood out for me on this. We're a little low on our amperage.
Yeah, I think just to clarify, I think there was like Ms. Phillips suggested about some 50 amp possibility, but this is the start of the site. So as was suggested, and I believe the MD Taber is also the majority have 30 amps, correct?
I'm not 100% sure.
I think they just got the one new area that's 50.
I believe so, but
yeah. So 20?
20.
Okay.
Basically, all the new campgrounds that I've attended there, they have 50 or 30 on both pedestals, so you could use either.
So
50 amps is a big draw to a campground.
So the MD is 20 and 30? There is no 50?
It's 15 and 30.
15 and 30.
They have a couple 50 watt sites, I believe.
Okay, well, I think that's something for exploration down the road there, but this is just the base start.
But you're starting at the base, which you won't be able to expand on if you're not sizing your wire for 50 amp at this time.
That electrically is Mr. Scheer, can you offer something in that regard? And
within your recommendation, we do have the opportunity to negotiate with the contractor, so we can bring that forth with additional pricing. I don't see a huge adjustment here. I know there's going to be some cost savings as we move forward with investing the overall cost of the project. So we can put this forward and see what the costs are and what the implications.
So just to clarify, oh, you don't have a question?
I just think it's a good idea to investigate that because that's
Okay.
what I'm seeing everywhere.
Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do a fair bit of RV camping. Most campgrounds that we stay in are 30 amp. It's enough to run your air conditioner and your microwave. So, in my opinion, 30 amp would be more than sufficient for these 9 stalls. And I would be, I'm prepared to make a motion at this point.
All right.
So I move that council awards the Trout Pond RFP to InPhase Electric Incorporated in the amount of $474,545 plus GST, and that administration be given the opportunity to negotiate as scope of work and detailed design is finalized. Funds to be taken from the 2019 capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Garner?
I'm fine with the motion. I just a point of clarification. 180 trees and 180 shrubs, having lived out that way for 15 years, are those trees going to be staked and some cages put around them? Because if not, the wind and the deer are going to annihilate them within a month.
I believe in the proposal with InPhase, they did address that. They specifically mentioned.
No, that's fine. That's good.
And again, with negotiating, we'll work with them.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, you're just
I'm sure they had that
throwing
in
good
theirs.
money away.
Mr. Towns?
In this motion, there's opportunity to negotiate the scope of work. Does that also include the scope of looking into the 50 amp servers?
It's two, yes.
I think I agree with Councilor Bruin on this. It's something we should look into it because I don't think the costs are going to be great to change it. So if we do it right the first time, we're done.
All right. Once again, motion on the table. Councillor Stravas?
Just some comments. I think you have to hand it to our administration. They did a lot of work on this, and their recommendation of using local people. I mean, it's laid out quite heavily. I'm not in favor of spending the extra money to get this done, but with the amount of detail and that these people, and these are all local contractors that they're using here. I think this is a good step, and I appreciate the work that all of the administration did to do this here, and it's a good project to go forward at this.
All right, thank you. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.7, Weed Control Act, Municipal Inspector Appointment, Mr. Armfeld.
Yes, the Taber Police Service has moved some of their members around, and Constable Leighton Motts is the new Community Standards Officer. And with that title, he is required to have the designation of Weed Control Inspector, so he can go and give people notices about their weeds. That's the subject of this request for decision. The recommendation from administration is that you appoint Constable Leighton Motts as an official weed control inspector.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Beckering?
Mr. Mayor, prepare to make a motion.
All right.
Thank you. Council appoints Constable Leighton Motts of the Taber Police Service under the Weed Control Act of Alberta as a municipal inspector for the town of Taber to carry out this act and the regulations within a community, a municipality.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.8, information for council. Mr. Armfeld.
Yeah, just a few items to circle back with council on. Alberta Environment and Parks, of course, they do an inspection to our waterworks. They were out yearly. They do this on July the 13th. They came out and they have issued a passing grade on our waterworks, water treatment and wastewater treatment, correct? Yeah. So kudos to the water treatment, wastewater treatment crew for significantly surpassing the bar, and Alberta Environment is very satisfied with the work that they do. The second one was the benches and the ball boats downtown. Those have been installed and they're being utilized. I see people having a rest on there every day. I think much appreciated by some of the people downtown. The third one, certainly the pathway south of the Taber Golf Course could probably use a little bit more TLC, and I've talked to that staff about doing that in 2020, some more maintenance on there, but we've tried to hit the roughest part south of the golf course where some of the roots were coming through and where some of the larger cracks were at. That's number 3. Number 4, yes, moving forward with those asphalt repairs at the Tabor Golf Club. They've been completed. Attached are the traffic committee meeting minutes from July the 24th, and a note that the aquatic center will be closed from September 3rd to September the 15th for the yearly shutdown. There may be components of the Aquafund Center closed after September the 15th. There might be some concern with the grout on the kids pool that would require that to be closed for a few days after the September 15th. But the lane swim and the slide and jacuzzi and all that kind of stuff would be open on September the 15th. It just is dependent on the work that needs to be done to the kid pool area, and the grout has to cure there. So that might stretch that out a little bit longer. But officially closing is from September the 3rd to September the 15th.
All right. Thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Towns?
Not really a question, just a comment. The pathway repairs south of the Tabor Golf Club on our walking path, and on our last coffee with council, there was a comment made about right by the golf course's repair shop, and about 100 feet or 100 meters west of that was a great big pothole right next to the path. So
it's been taken care of.
It's been looked at.
It's been taken care of.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Mr. Armfeld saw to that on Friday, and that was much appreciated and done forthwith. So let's haven't heard any other concerns there. And I don't know, do they have to do an actual patch, or was that just a fill type thing?
Well, Mr. Chair, they added some cold mix to that,
Yeah.
but that whole area, there's willows there, and there are some root issues there, and that path has cracked, and there has been some failures in it. And so as part of the asphalt work this year, we did replace a fair section of that, and we know we have to invest a little bit more to bring that up to maintenance, and for sure sealing some of the cracks. Next year we're going to get on sealing some of those cracks where there's weeds actually growing right through the path, so they'll be round up and tarred and that sort of stuff next year. So there's still work to be done there. That's constant improvement, but yeah, we did get that one pothole with some cold mix and
some water table issues in that particular area. That's part of it, or wear and tear combination.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, it's wear and tear. It's on a grade, so it's hard to, the water is flowing through underneath that pathway, and there are trees there, so we just have to maintain that a bit more rather than some of the other spots where the path
thanks
is.
again to yourself and or Public Works for taking care of that in a very timely manner. All right. Do we need a motion on that, Mr. Armfeld? Councillor Towns?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that council accepts the material received in this agenda item as information.
All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.9, whistleblower hotline. Mr. Armfeld.
Yeah, the next is the quarterly letter that we get from MNP LLP with regards to the whistleblower hotline. There has been no calls made from April 1st to June the 30th.
All right, thank you. Questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council accepts the statistical report from MNP LLP regarding the whistleblower hotline ethics alert for the period of April 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2019 for information purposes only.
Okay, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 6.10, Tabor Municipal Police Commission report. Mr. Armfeld.
Yeah, in my capacity as Police Commission Secretary, I can facilitate any answers to any queries that council has with regards to this. If not, the report is there for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council accepts the Tabor Municipal Police Commission report for information.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. On to item 6.11, department reports. All right, I'll go through these individually. If you want to stop me on a question or concern, please do so. First off, Finance Department report. Recreation Department report. HR activity report. Fire Department report. Engineering and Public Works report. Treatment Facilities report. Administrative Service report. August Plan and Economic Development report. And CAO activity report. All right, someone ready to make a motion? Anyone? Councillor Garner.
The council accepts the mayor and council reports for information.
Department reports.
The department reports for information.
All right, motion on the table.
Got ahead of myself.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. On to item 6.12, mayor and council reports. Councillor Firth.
It's been quiet over the summer, which is nice, but I attended the Chinook Arch Regional Library Board meeting, Joint Economic Development Committee meeting, and both sessions of Coffee with Council this month.
Thank you. Councillor Beckert.
Mr. Mayor, nothing exciting to report.
Thank you. Councillor Thames.
Mr. Mayor, nothing exciting to report.
All right, thank you. Councillor Garner.
I attended the council Coffee with Council, and I've attended numerous Cornfest planning meetings, and looking forward to that this weekend.
All right, thank you. Councillor Stravis.
A couple of things to report. First of all, I'd like to thank your worship and Councillor Beckering for helping me out on delivering of Meals on Wheels again. I appreciate the help. Taborn District Housing had their over at Clearview Lodge had their annual barbecue, and thanks to the fire department that came with a crew of guys to help put up tents and tear them down afterwards, which was certainly a great asset. And for all those that attend, it was got rained out at the end, but other than that, it was pretty good. And my last item is the scheduled activity for the Higashiomi delegation visit. I gave everybody a copy of that, and administration have that. There's a couple of changes that have to be made that I thought about after. And it was pointed out that shuffle some of the visits to the town facilities around. I have to flip the library and the administration building around, because that's the visit here to the administration building is during a council meeting, so we're gonna facilitate a flip around there. Other than that, we have 10 students and 3 adults confirmed. I believe 1 student dropped out, so I believe it's 9 and 3 now. And their bills assignments have all been done. And we're looking forward now to putting together a group for 2020 to go to Higashiomi.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
It's been, like Councillor First said, a fairly quiet month, which is a good sign. Things are quiet, things are working. I attended the Clearview Lodge barbecue as well, Joint Economic Development Committee. I sat in as an alternate there. I enjoyed the Coffee with Council, both meetings. Talked to and attended some Highway 3 meetings. There's a bit of a push on this twinning of the highway because of the terrible tragedy we had just east of town here. Chairman Bill Chapman of the Highway 3 Committee has done a lot of interviews, and it's getting a lot of people talking again about the necessity of twinning this highway. It's only going to get busier, so I think more opportunity we have to influence anyone with power, that this has to be readdressed, and something has to be done about the highway, I think is very important. So it's my report.
All right, thank you. And for me, it's a fairly busy month as well there. A few highlights, attended the Peacekeepers Day celebration here a couple weeks back. Also the Communities in Bloom barbecue event. Myself and some administration attended that. That was a nice afternoon. As well as Council Stravis and Bruin mentioned, the Taborn District Housing and the Clearview Lodge annual barbecue was a big event. 300 some odd people, I believe, attended. Went over pretty well, other than the weather didn't help us in the end there, but overall it went over pretty well. Other than that, that's pretty much it for my report. Somebody prepared to make a motion? Councillor Thames?
I move that council accepts the mayor and councilor's reports for information.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And item 613, standing item council requests. Mr. Armfield?
Yes, this is the time that council gets the opportunity to ask administration any questions you might have or give us any direction through the form of a motion.
All right, thank you. Anything arising? Councillor Garner?
I'd like to just make an observation and then I'd like to make a motion. I've never seen the town look as good as it has lately. I mean, everything is clean, lines are well painted, everything's trimmed and looks awesome, I think. I've never seen it look as good as it has. And the motion I would like to make is, I'd like to make a motion at this time that council directs administration to install 5 new 8-foot handicap accessible blue imp picnic benches in Centennial Park. And also that we direct administration to have 20 new trees transplanted into the Centennial Park. The type of trees to be chosen by the Communities in Bloom group, along with the location of those benches. And the work to be completed before November 20th, 2019. That might be a push, but it's a good target. With the total cost not to exceed $14,000, with funding provided from the council discretionary fund. I think it's just time that we do some improvements in our Centennial Park, in that it's becoming more of a social hub for us, and I just don't think that 4 picnic tables really facilitate that park as they should. So that's my motion.
All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Bruno?
I agree with Councillor Garner on the picnic tables and the trees, of course. Have you done any cost analysis of how much it's going to cost, actually?
Just some rough calculations. We can get trees planted, transplanted there for about $200 a tree with about a 24-inch root ball from a local contractor. That's not my job, acquisitions or anything, but just some rough figures.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I thought of the idea a little while back about being able to donate a tree to the park in memorial or something like that to maybe offset some of those costs. I think people would be willing to for something like that. I think it's a very fitting tribute to someone, a tree in their name. So there's different ways to look at all this, but I know and I support you that we need to do something more with our park, because like you say, it is quite a social hub now, and I love seeing that every weekend you go by, there's something happening, and that's what we want to promote in this town. And there is a shortage of benches.
All right, any other discussion? Councillor Firth?
Mr. Mayor, I agree with Councillor Garner about more trees and picnic tables to attract people to the parks is always a good idea. My only question would be, I suppose, to recreation, and you might just, is there an overall plan for how trees are planted or maintained in the parks? Would we be like inserting ourselves into that plan?
Mr. Mayor, I could respond to this on behalf of administration, if I may. So there is not a formal plan that we have passed for Centennial Park, Confederation Park. And we do work with an arborist once a year to go through and have a look at those trees. We would have to, I would want to bring an arborist back in and have them make some recommendations with regards to where the new trees would be planted, and actually craft a plan for where the benches would be best suited, to at least bring that back to council to make sure that we're meeting council's mark with regards to location of those benches. The other thing that I would like to have the opportunity to do is just to confirm workloads from now until the end of the season. I heard a due date by the end of September.
November 20th.
Oh, end of November. Okay, so I'd want to make sure that that can actually be accommodated with the workload. We are getting to the end of the summer, and a number of our summer students are, of course, going back to school. So that puts us in a pretty light opportunity for workload come September, October, November. So it's just scheduling of work in leading up to the winter that I would want to make sure that if a motion does get passed, I just want council to understand we will do our best to meet it, but without actually having these conversations internally, I'm not sure how we could accommodate it. We can, but we might be hiring contractors, so it should be an added expense.
Mr. Garner.
Further to your comments, that price of $200 was having that contractor come and actually dig the dirt out and bring his tree and plant it in. So I don't think it would be too much work for the town. He would do all of that. The work would come with the installation of the benches, the 5 benches.
Mr. Towns?
Additionally, there would be work with the setup of that. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable just telling a contractor, okay, go and dig half a dozen holes in Centennial Park and plunk a bunch of trees in there. Like there is work that administration has to do to make sure that our asset is protected prior to installing any new trees with regards to irrigation infrastructure, where they go, all that kind of stuff.
Mr. Towns?
As much as I support the whole plan that Councillor Garner has laid out to put benches and trees, in my mind, this is no different than when the Off-Leash Dog Society come to us and said, here's what we want to do, and here's what we're going to do. We raise the money, and we tabled that until administration had input. And in my mind, as much as I would totally agree with you, Councillor Garner, I don't think we can do this anymore without going back to our administration and say we need input. If we're gonna plant 23 trees, we're gonna dig 23 holes, and we all know if you're digging holes in the ground disturbance, you're going to get a first call. We have irrigation pipes in there. We have power pipes in there. We're going to plant benches. We have places that they run mowers where they have fertilizers, where they have to spread out their wings and their booms so they can mow. I think we need to take this whole thing and give it to administration. Here's what we want the investigation done on. We want to plant some trees and put some benches, and throw it right back at administration. Go do your do the homework and come back to us.
Sure.
I totally support you with what you're thinking.
Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's exactly what the motion states, that there's a budgetary implication or not. I don't know what's in the council discretionary fund, must be almost running out, Mr. Orva. And the motion doesn't say how to do it, just said do it. That's up to administration to how to do it.
I'd just like to reiterate with some of administration's concerns there about the motions talking about having CIB pick the trees and et cetera, and maybe the location. But I think that arborist is key to know what type of trees we need to go where if we're going to go that route.
Sure.
Those are the professionals, right? It's anybody could say, yeah, let's pick this tree, that tree, but is that a suitable tree or is it a suitable location in the park with whatever else is out there infrastructure-wise? So I think there needs to be a little bit of legwork done by our administration to be able to tell us that, and or what the recommendations are by a professional person that knows what should or shouldn't be there, what's worked, what hasn't, and potential locations that are suitable if you're looking at 20 different trees there to add to the park. But we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit here before administration can do that for us, bring back that recommendation so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and I'm fine amending my motion to say, instead of having the Community in Bloom group give us recommendations, I'm fully prepared to change that to say have the administration come back and give us their recommendations. That's no problem. I have no issue with that.
All right. Just can we clarify exactly what's changed in the motion then? What's your deleting?
I'm deleting by the Communities in Bloom picking the location for the benches and the trees to making that a decision made by administration, which is fine, just totally fine by me.
All right. That cover the bases, Mr. Arfeld? More so compared to your suggested, what your concerns were?
Yeah, certainly my recommendation would be that this get discussed through the budget process and for inclusion in 2020, spring of 2020. That would be our ideal way to put some new item on the table and move it through. But if there is a desire to have this done this fall, we certainly can endeavor to make that happen. Ms. Van Ham, do you want to read back that motion? that that we have in front of us?
Councilor Garner can provide it to me. What I have is Council directs administration to install 5 new handicap accessible blue imp benches in Centennial Park. 20 new trees installed, chosen with the amended motion to be recommended. Their location and type to be recommended by administration. Work to be completed by November 20th, 2019. And the amount of $14,000 to come from the council discretionary fund.
All right. Councillor Broom?
I just, some thoughts on that. You're still keeping the deadline of November 21st. I think maybe the idea Mr. Armfield had of putting a tabling it for the 2020 year, because I think to be practical, we wouldn't get it done this fall, but let's make sure we get it done in the spring. There's a lot of work to do to find out the exact costs and maybe plans for donations for trees and stuff like that. So I think that's too short of a timeline, really. But I'm all for it. It's just, let's plan it properly.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that I guess I don't see it like that. I think when you hire a tree specialist that runs a nursery and say, hey, can you come and make some recommendations along with administration? You give them the green flag, they do the work. You know, I think that we need to fast track this, because I'm afraid, my concern is we put it off and put it off, and we've put that off since 1966, really reforesting that area somewhat, other than some trees around the skateboard park 10 years ago.
I think in fairness to administration, it's likely going to take, is it even a month suitable enough for you, Mr. Armfield, to come back with some kind of recommendation as far as what's on the current suggested motion?
That might even be tight.
Right. Okay.
To incorporate all the pieces that has been talked about, donating a tree.
So that could put us into October already, and we could be under a foot of snow in October. So then what? You know, that's going to change things completely. And so, I don't know that she can be that rigid with a deadline, I don't think, overall there. But Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just think if we're planting these trees, they're likely going to be there for a long time. So I'd rather we do it properly rather than just plunk a bunch of trees in. So I'm just wondering if you'd accept a friendly amendment to remove that deadline.
Sure, absolutely. I don't care. The goal is to get it done eventually. So.
Okay. Friendly amendment by 2 on the table. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried now. Good. Thank you. All right, we're on to item 7, delegations. 7.1, Southland Funeral Chapel. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, Mr. Barber is here from Southland Funeral Chapel to make a request for additional space in our columbarium. Did I catch that right? Yes. Okay, Mr. Barber, you're up. Please join us at the hot seat.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
So the columbarium that we installed approximately, and my dates might be a little bit off, but I think we had initially, I thought my date was about 08, but this agreement was dated the May of 2010. Regardless of that, it doesn't matter. That particular columbarium is now 98% full. We have definitely had a number of people inquire about additional space in our columbarium. And so Daryl Gonzorek, my business partner, and I are proposing that we install 2 additional columbariums at the existing site in the town of Taber, Taber Memorial Garden Cemetery.
All right.
So we'd be working in and on the same space as the existing columbarium and the existing concrete pad that we're currently residing on.
All right. Questions arising? Councillor Tams?
Not a question. I just think it's a great plan.
All right.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Perfect.
Council authorizes the mayor and CEO to sign an addendum agreement with Southland Funeral Chapels Limited for the supply and installation of 2 56-inch niche columbarium at the Taber Memorial Garden Cemetery.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. That was
Yep,
easy
thank you.
enough.
Appreciate it.
You'll have that done tomorrow or the day after?
Our task at this point, it's about 90 to 100 days to have it constructed. So I think at this point, given our term towards winter, we're probably looking about May 1st.
Thank you.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to item number 8. Meeting inquiries, Tabor Times. Trevor?
Nothing right.
Okay, thank you. I would just ask for motion to take our 30-minute break then. Councillor Garner.
I can make that motion.
Motion
Take a
on the table.
30-minute break.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll reconvene at